In this video, we are programming this Acuvance Xarvis ESC with the Acuvance TAO3 programmer, trying to tweak how this drift car drives. If you're new to the channel, welcome. My name is Troy. This is Logan. We are Roadside RC. You'll tend to find us bashing or crawling or drifting or racing, plus doing product review videos and how-tos. And we have recently picked up, this is the Rhino Shark, full form Shark version, and it came with the Acuvance Xarvis ESC, and we need to program it a little bit. It has the previous user's programming tune in it, and we don't like it a lot. Like, there's a couple things in it that we want to tweak. So what we have done is we have actually printed out from the website the full list of tunable options with it. And we've picked up their programmer so that we can actually go through line item by line item, mark how it's already tuned, see what that looks like, and then start tweaking a couple things to our liking. Let's get started by getting this tuner out of the box and hooked up to the car. So in the box, obviously you get the tuner itself, which looks really nice. It better because this whole thing costs more than some ESCs do. So the tuner does look really nice. You get a little cable to help plug it into the ESC. You get a USB cable so that you can do software updates to it from your computer. Basic operating guidelines and a list of functions. That is great. That is exactly what we need. So we're going to get these cables out, and fortunately on the ESC there is already a link port right here at the very front of it. So all we have to do is connect those two together. We're going to need to get a battery to give ourselves some electricity to power this whole thing. And we should be ready to kind of go through and see what the settings are on it. One thing to note as we're hooking this programmer up, it's not just a standard, I forget what these plugs are called, but like the same plug that we use in our servos and our ESCs and everything. This side on the programmer is, on the ESC side, it's smaller than normal, the jerks. So if you really need to make sure that you do not use this plug, otherwise you won't be able to connect those. That's not cool. Man, that's not cool, Acuvance. Don't do us like that. But anyway, it is hooked up. We are going to, controller is on. We're going to fire the car up and let this thing come in. And look, first thing you need to do is go over here and actually go down to ESC Select and tell it which one of the three types of ESCs that you have. We have the Xarvis up here. So we're going to click that, and then it knows which one we're in. The first thing we're going to do is go to ESC Preview, hit enter and go in there. It says establish the link. Once I finally cycle the power a couple times, I'm actually getting it to do the ESC Preview. Now it tells me all of what the current settings are on this ESC. So what I'm going to do is compare it versus this printout of all the different tuning items. And I'm honestly just going to come through and mark which ones are all the current settings, and then we're going to come back and talk about what are maybe some things that we want to change. So we've gone through and marked this whole thing with which of the ESC settings that we currently have actually match the pre-made drift settings for this ESC. And there's a couple things that we were looking to fix in this how the car drove. We were looking at throttle delay. It feels like when you get on the throttle, it feels like it takes a while for the power to ramp in. So we're wanting to increase that. Basically the same thing with the brake. It felt like when we hit brake, like when we're trying to enter into a corner, we really want to lock up those rear tires. It felt like that brake was soft, if you will. So we hit the brake and it takes it a minute to really lock up those wheels. So I want to increase that. And then in this ESC, it has kind of a fun rev limiter function. So when you hit full throttle and all the RPM comes in, it has this like ring, like rev limiter function, which sounds cool. It's kind of hard to drive with though. Like if you hit that, it's actually physically like bouncing the rear of the car as it's giving it power and taking power off, giving power, taking power off. And so we're going to turn that off. It sounds fun and it's a cool gimmick, but we're going to turn that off in order to smooth out that kind of high RPM throttle. So we're going to go through here and we've identified a couple things that we want to change. The brake frequency, the standard drift is at 8. This program is currently sitting at 18, so we're going to reduce that. That should increase our brake application. Initial speed, it was at 2. It can go all the way from 0 to 50, so it's kind of all the way at the very, very bottom. They recommend 8. We're going to play around with something like that. I'm just going to start with maybe those 2 functions and then start tuning some of these other things. With the ESC on, we're going to come into this data edit, because I believe this is where I want to change the setting. So we're going to go into data edit, we're going to go to drift rear wheel drive, and we're going to start going through here. So 16, so we're going to decrease the brake frequency. So this is currently at 18. We're going to bring it back down to the stock 8. Initial speed is at 2. We're going to take it up to the 8. And then we're going to come all the way down here to the rev limiter, I think. Off.
Hit save.
Where's save? Save. Save it. Save. File name. So now we're going to name the file. Log 1. Okay, and then save. Complete. So now we have to go, I think, down to data link. And I would love to see that we're going to rear wheel drive, synchronize. Oh my gosh, now it's not going to connect again. Oh my gosh, I hate this thing. All right, so after we did data edit and created the log1 file, we then went to data link, save data, told it log1, told it to synchronize. And at that point then, after it's synchronized with the saved data, we can now come back to here and see that those numbers have changed. Woohoo! We finally did it. Now let's test drive this thing and see what happens.
Yeah, the brake is definitely stronger.
The throttle seem more responsive?
Yeah, definitely.
Alright, so just stop straight and then nail it and see if it does the rev limiter thing. It does not. Okay, hey, so we have done some of the things. That is good. After a bunch of testing, here is what we've come down to for our Acuvance settings. Obviously, yours may still vary, but if you're looking for a base setup, here's where we started with. A lot of the stuff we actually are reusing from the base core drift preset values. The drive frequency, the neutral brake frequency, the brake frequency, in order to get it where we wanted it, where we were actually getting a full lockup quickly when we hit full brake, we had to take it down to a 2 instead of an 8, whereas when we got this ESC used, it was at an 18, so it made a big change there. Initial speed, when we first had it, it was at a 2. We brought it back to that stock 8. 16 for the neutral brake power, 26 for the initial brake power, feels pretty good to us. Full brake, max forward, max reverse, operation mode, all of those are the same. We did leave the low voltage cutoff up at 3.4. You know, honestly, the drift batteries last so long, there's not really any need to run them all the way down to 3.2, so leave that up there at 3.4. Full boost timing, for some reason, in the drift spec shows 0. Don't know why, but it shows 0 timing. We have it at 15. For the boost, boost start and end RPM, instead of 5,000 and 20,000, we now have it at 12,000 and 42,000. But I believe we're probably going to continue to tweak those values a little bit as we drive at the track and change it. Throttle boost control, instead of off, is on. Turbo activation still at full throttle. Turbo timing, instead of 12 degrees, is 25. Turbo start, we have it starting at 42,000. Slope is 5. Slope on and off are both 5 right now. Turbo start time is off. No start time delay whatsoever. 0 over here as well. Rev limiter, we did turn that off as much. We did not like how that feels. So I think a couple different things here. I will note on the timing. So we have full boost timing 15 degrees, turbo timing 25. The reason why I have those numbers is because we also have 20 degrees on the can itself on the motor. And so then that adds up to a total of 60 degrees, which is normally about where I try to be. I hope this look at the Acuvance ESC was useful for you. If you have any questions about what we did or how we tested it, leave them down in the video comments and I'll be happy to try to answer as many as I can. If you have any other questions about other drift stuff, whether it's gyros or ESCs or whether it's servos or whatever it may be, there's a Drift Tech playlist that'll be popping up to your right, and I hope to see you in one of those videos. So thank you and goodbye.